Hello and welcome to the back garden garage. Right, so in the last video I tried to weld up the entire bulkhead footwell section on the BMW E30 that I'm restoring, and I failed miserably. I had to do the bits that I tried multiple times because I kept getting it wrong and wasn't happy with the result. So in this video I'm looking to finish that section. Now, before I move on to that, I want to ask a little bit of help. If anybody knows of a good way to restore these rusty fixing bolts, this car has gotten plastered all over, that are going to need sorting out and fixing. If there is a good way to replace them, let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you see in this process, subscribe to the channel, give me a like, follow along and see how this restoration turns out at the end of it. So on to today's task, and this is the area I'm gonna tackle. Now, if you've seen any E30 rust projects, you will know full well that these footwell sections are a nightmare for replacement. Now, what I'm gonna do is get this all cleaned up, cut out the rot and see exactly what I'm left with and what type of panels I'm gonna need to make to replace before I can even think about welding it in. So I start off by removing the undersill because the rust creeps underneath, and I just want to make sure that when I do start cutting it out, everything is removed. Then with the angry wheel, it's just a case of cutting through the floor and flipping the car over just to make it a bit easier access, and chopping out the remainder of the panel. Now I'm just using a flat disc to remove the spot welds rather than a spot weld drill. Just is a quicker, easier, faster method, I think. And then just cleaning up and removing the remainders of the inner panel. Okay, so that is that metal cut out and cleaned up. Now you will have seen I used a multi-tool to clean up the undersill on the car, and there are different weapons of choice that you can use to tackle that job. Mine is the multi-tool where there's good access, and it leaves mess like this, which is easy to clean up. The short little areas inside the car that I didn't use the multi-tool for, it made a horrendous mess, just bits everywhere. And when you do create that kind of mess, you need to have masks on or good ventilation. There's more to it than just grinding it off. But when you get chunks like this falling off, it's way easier to clean up and less chance of you getting that stuck up your nose, isn't it? Right, anyway, let's move on to this section. I have cleaned it up and put some weld through primer on it, but I'm gonna have to start making the panels to go in there. So I'm gonna start with this inner skin little section here. Now, the difficulty I've got is I don't know the original shape. So I'm intentionally gonna leave it big. So when I go to put a piece in here, I will need to fill in the gaps all the way, and I can cut it off after I've got it welded. That's my plan anyway. So let me get to making a template and we will see what it looks like. So that was night and day difference to my last little welding session. It went so smoothly, and all the metal got welded together. The welds look pretty good, if I do say so myself. It's almost a shame to grind them off, but I have. It's all cleaned up and I've got some primer on there, so it's ready for the next panel. Now for the welding, I don't know whether or not it was because it is thicker metal, which is my suspicion for why I failed so badly in the last session. I also swapped the welding wire itself in the machine because I ran out last time and I put some new wire in there. I'm using 0.6 wire if you're interested, but maybe the old wire had become contaminated in some way and that was causing a problem. Whichever way, that went really well. So it's done, it's ground back, it's treated, and it's time to move on to the next little section of repair in this footwell. So the next section I'm going to fix is the bit that attaches to this lower part of the bulkhead. Now it tucks in behind the bottom panel, comes down about a good 2 or 3 centimeters in behind there. So I need to then come a straight line all the way across and join into this bit of a wavy line here. So I've taken my measurements across here to find out exactly what I need down here. The only tricky part is on this side there needs to be a flange on here to tie it in. So there's a flange on this side which has got a radius in it, straight across to this side, and fill in the hole, and that should again hopefully just be a nice straightforward one. And just like that, we are 2 sections down. Now, granted, they were probably the easier of the 2 sections, but nevertheless, they are moving in the right direction. Now, I have ground down the welds. You can still see them a little bit on the inside. I'm not concerned about that at all. It's hidden under carpet, never going to see it again. On the outside is almost invisible, so it is, yeah, fantastic. I'm really happy with the result of that little section there. But now we move on to a little bit more of a complicated part, and that is the floor section here. Now there isn't a lot left of the original floor. As you can see by this one, I am missing more than half of it. But it gives me some kind of idea where any beadwork and things like that go. So I'm going to take some measurements, start cutting up some metal, start bending it, shaping it, and we'll see what result I come up with. So this panel starts off the same way as pretty much all the other ones do. Take your measurements, cut out the sheet of metal, and then from there I am just marking on all of the locations of the beadwork that I can see on the panel. Now I have intentionally cut it a little bit big to give the metal room to bend and shape. And after doing this, I did learn there is probably a good order of operations of which bends to do first. And I get it wrong in this one, so I do struggle. With the basic shape finalised, I then need to put a big step in the side of it, and I just take a minute just to look at what's the best option to go with. In the end, I go with brute force. When that didn't work, I got the hammer out and just started hammering away on different surfaces. And I was using the soft hammer just to not mark the metal too much. But it wasn't working as well as I was hoping, so I went back to the brute force method. And at this point, I think I completely ruined the panel. I had creases in it everywhere. So yeah, I went back to the hammer. And then I switched from the soft mallet to a proper foreman mallet or hammer, and that seemed to do the trick, and I just kept hitting and shaping and hitting and shaping. I finally came out with some kind of shape that I was happy with. It gave this step in there, and it was time to crack on with the actual beadwork. Now, in hindsight, I probably could have started that large step with the bead and then shaped it from there, but I didn't. So I might learn that for the opposite side when I get round to it. But for now, put the beadwork in before I can start shaping the actual size of the panel. Luckily, I had an object exactly the same diameter as the hole I needed to make the beadwork with. And there we go. That's alright, isn't it? That's not too bad. I did struggle in this little area here. It's not perfect. Maybe I could have started it with a bead roller, but I didn't. So that's the result. I left this bit long here. I needed to do that just to allow me to work the bead roller in that little section. So I need to trim another centimetre off of that or so. And then I need to put some spot weld holes in the edge along here, along the back side, get some weld through primer on it and get it welded in. So that is my next little task. Okay, so to keep these panels just tight together, I've put some tack screws in there because I can't get any sort of mole grips on to clamp them together, these two panels. So yeah, that'll hold it together for the time being. I'll fill in the spot welds and then I will remove the screws and fill in the holes. Well then, that's all cleaned up and got some etch primer over it, and I am really happy with how that's come out. It's way better than what I'd expected it to be. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. So we're not quite done yet. We still have to figure out this little box section which sits on the top here. I don't think it's technically a jacking point. They used it in production apparently to move like the bare body shells around. A lot of people leave it off to stop it corroding again, but I think for the sake of completeness, I'm going to remake it and get it fitted on. Now, I purposely left this section long on the end of this repair patch that I put in to allow me to cut it the shape. And what I'm also going to do is bend it over at a 90 degree, and it will give some strength into the panel by putting that 90 degree in there. Hopefully it will be, you'll understand it more as I'm working through the process. And I'm going to use the little tab section to spot weld the repair material on the front, which is going to help cover the box section as well. So I start off by just trimming down the remaining sections of that panel I was just describing and giving it a little bend over. Give it a right angle, give me something to spot weld to. Now what I'm doing here is using slightly thicker plate. This is probably about 2mm. I am shaping the box that actually bolts onto or welds onto the bottom of the floor. So I'm putting some holes in the bottom, one for drainage, and the other lot of holes are going to be for actually plug welding onto the floor itself. Of course, the panel work actually needs holes for spot welding through. And with the panel in place and clamped in, I get it welded on. To finish it off, I need a front panel, which I have made a little template for. I am adding some beads into the front because from the pictures I found, the factory panel has these. It also adds quite a bit of strength to it. But yeah, nice simple panel, and it's just a case of getting that all welded on. And we are done. Now this session went so much better than the last one. It's night and day. Let's hope we get more like that. Now I'm guessing it's down to the thickness of metal, but there are a few variations that could have caused the improvement. Either way, I will take it. So with that all done and looking as close to factory as I can get it, it's time to do the next lot. However, I think for this video, we are done. So if you've liked what you've seen in this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of the repairs carried out on this BMW. See if they turn out as good as this one. I will see you next time.